Good morning, everybody, and welcome. This is a Legacy School Comprehension lesson for Year 6, Week 10. This is our 10th and final comprehension passage for this year in our comprehension booklet. But don't worry, we'll have plenty of other passages in our literacy booklet as well. For these passages or for these exercises, I want you guys to try your absolute best to answer these questions because you will be marked based on your answers. So please try to go back, do any corrections, if any, and make sure all of your work is complete because I'm going to be taking these booklets and marking them from A to Z. All right, let's continue. For this lesson, you'll need your comprehension booklet from pages 35 to 38 or passage 10. So this passage is from Charlie Bone and the Blue Boa by Jenny Nemo. When Runner Bean had wolfed down the stew, Charlie took him into the back garden, where they had a great game of Hunt the Slipper. A slipper that Charlie despised because he had his name embroidered in blue across the front. Runner Bean was just chewing up the last bit of the slipper when Maisie flung open an upstairs window and called, "Look out, Charlie, the U-beans are coming." "Stay here, Runner," Charlie commanded, "and be quiet if you can." He leaped up the steps to the back door and ran to the kitchen where he sat at the table and picked up a magazine. The aunt's voice could be heard as they climbed the front steps. A key turned in the lock, and then they were all in the hall, Grandma Bone and her 3 sisters, all talking at once. The great-aunts marched into the kitchen in new spring outfits. Lucretia and Eustacia had exchanged their usual black suits for charcoal gray, but in Aunt Venetia's case, it was purple. She also wore high-heeled purple shoes with golden tassels dangling from the laces. All 3 sisters had sinister smiles and threatening look in their dark eyes. So what does this tell us about the great-aunts? Do you think they're nice, or do you think they might be a little bit evil? Aunt Lucretia said, "So here you are, Charlie." She was the eldest, apart from Grandma Bone, and a matron at Charlie's school. Here we have the word matron again. And remember, we took this word in the passage about the orphanage or about the foster home, right? So we know that a matron is somebody that takes care of children. "Yes, here I am," said Charlie nervously. "Same hair, I see," said Aunt Eustacia, sitting up opposite Charlie. "Yes, same hair," said Charlie. "Same for you too, I see." "Don't be smart," Eustacia patted her abundant gray hair. So here the word abundant means a lot of. She had an abundance of hair, so she had very thick hair. "Why haven't you brushed it today?" "I haven't had time," said Charlie. He became aware that Grandma Bone was still talking to someone in the hall. Aunt Venetia suddenly said, "Ta-da!" and opened the kitchen door very wide, as if she were expecting the Queen or a famous movie star to walk in. But it was Grandma Bone who appeared, followed by the prettiest girl Charlie had ever seen. She had golden curls, bright blue eyes, and lips like an angel. "Hello, Charlie." The girl held out her hand in the manner of someone expecting a kiss on the finger, probably, or preferably from a boy on bended knees. "I'm Belle." Charlie was too flustered to do anything. Here the word flustered means nervous or overwhelmed. The girl smiled and sat beside him. "Oh my," she said. "A ladies' magazine?" Charlie realized to his horror that he was holding his mother's magazine. On the cover, a woman in pink underwear held a kitten. Charlie felt very hot. He knew his face must be bright red. "Make us some coffee, Charlie," Aunt Lucretia said sharply, "and then we'll be off." Charlie flung down the magazine and ran to the coffee maker while Grandma Bone and the aunt sat babbling at him. Belle would be going to Charlie's school, Blur's Academy, and Charlie must tell her all about it. Charlie sighed. He wanted to visit his friend, Fidelio. Why did his aunts always have to spoil everything? For half an hour he listened to the chattering and giggling over coffee and buns. Belle didn't behave like a child, thought Charlie. She looked about 12. but she seemed very comfortable with the aunts. When the last drop had been squeezed out of the coffee pot, the three U-Beam sisters left the house, blowing kisses to Belle. "Take care of her, Charlie," Aunt Venetia called. Charlie wondered how he was supposed to do that. "Can I wash my hands, Griselle, Mrs. Bone?" Belle held up her sticky fingers. "There's the sink," Charlie nodded to the kitchen sink. "Upstairs, dear," said Grandma Bone with a scrawl in Charlie's direction. "Bathroom's first left, and there's some nice lavender soap and a clean towel." "Thank you." Belle skipped out. Charlie gasped. "What's wrong with the kitchen?" he asked his grandma. "Belle has tender skin," said Grandma Bone. "She can't use kitchen soap." "I want you to set the dining room table. For 5, I presume. I presume Macy will be joining us." "The dining room?" said Charlie in disbelief. "We only eat there on special occasions." "It's for Belle," snapped Grandma Bone. "A child?" Charlie was amazed. "Belle is not just any child." "So it seems," thought Charlie. He went to set the dining room table while Grandma Bone shouted instructions to Maisie. "We'd like a nice light soup today, Maisie. And then some cold ham and salad, followed by your lovely Bakewell tart." "Would we indeed, Your Highness?" Maisie shouted from somewhere upstairs. "Well, we'll have to wait, I'm afraid. Oops, who on earth are you?" She had obviously bumped into Belle. Charlie closed the dining room door and went to the window. There was no sign of Runner Bean in the garden. Charlie had visions of a dog's lifeless body lying in a gutter. He ran to the back door, but just as he was about to open it, a sing-song voice came. "Charlie!" Belle was standing in the hall, staring at him. Charlie could have sworn her eyes had been blue. Now they were green. All right. So now that we've read the text, let's go through the questions together. This is obviously a mystery, and they gave us some hints about it being a mystery. For example, her eyes magically turning to green, and the fact that she was getting along so well with the great aunties despite appearing to be 12 years old. And the fact that the aunties showed such great interest in her as well. Also, the part about him having a vision about a dog's lifeless body tells us that something mysterious is going on, and this isn't just your average story. Let's go ahead and look at the questions. Number 1, why does Charlie hate the slipper? They specifically told us why in the text, so that should be easy. Who are the U-Beams, or the U-Beam sisters? Number 3, explain fully why Charlie keeps his dog outside while the visitors are at the house. Number 4, explain fully why Charlie is embarrassed when he first meets Belle. Number 5, which expression shows that he is embarrassed? So I'm looking for an expression, a phrase, or a word that tells me that he's embarrassed. Number 6, why can't Belle use the kitchen soap? Number 7, what does Grandma want from Maisie? Number 8, explain why Charlie feels that his aunts spoil everything or ruin everything. Number 9, explain what the following passage means. When the last drop had been squeezed from the coffee pot. Number 10, name 2 reasons why Charlie doesn't think they should use the dining room for dinner. Number 11, do you think Grandma Maisie likes Grandma Bone? Find evidence that and explain how it proves your answer. 12, name 2 things that Charlie finds strange about Belle. 13, find a simile in the text that the author uses to describe Belle. So not just any simile, a simile used to describe Belle. 14, find an example of alliteration in lines 1 to 20. 15, do you like Grandma Bone and her sisters? Use at least 2 pieces of evidence from the text to support your answer and explain your opinion fully. All right, and the last question, look at the following sentence from the text. Eustacia patted her abundant gray hair. What do you think the word abundant means? We already discussed that, so lucky you guys. And for the extension work, the book Charlie Bone and the Blue Boa is a detective novel in the Charlie Bone series. Explain in up to 30 words why young kids and teenagers like to read detective novels. So this is going to be based on your opinion. So I can't wait to read your answers. Good luck, everybody.